There's very high prospects for teachers. In fact, in my experience, it's one of the easiest fields to get work in, particularly when you're still young. I think to speak to what you mentioned about the groups, the Facebook groups with unemployed teachers, those will happen with people that would take a break from teaching or relocate. Um, or there's other factors that um, cause people to get out and then want to look for work. So just like any other field, there will always be someone looking for a job, and there will always be a position open. You know what I mean? I think it's similar to other fields, except in education, the prospects are much higher in comparison to other fields.
Welcome, friends. This is Dr. T, and I'm so excited today. I've got a very good friend of mine, Mr. Ali Mkhwanazi. Before I get into the interview today, I want to, if you are new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and make sure that you click on the bell icon so that every time I post, you can get a notification. If you are going to have any question for the interview, make sure that you put your comments at the bottom of this video. So, Mr. Mkhwanazi, welcome, and please, as a way of introduction, please share a bit about yourself, where you come from, and what career path did you follow. Welcome, and over to you.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Albert Mkhwanazi. I come from Limpopo, a small town called Burgersfort. I grew up there. I did my primary school at the local primary school called Bowasha Primary School. I went to high school in Sihlaku High School, which was, I think, about 20-30 kilometers away from where I lived. And that was a technical high school that I went to. Did most of my schooling there, matriculated, and then went over to the University of Pretoria to study education.
Oh, thank you so much. I think that was short and sweet. Thank you. Look, man, welcome, man, and thank you so much for making the time for the interview. And I really wanted to talk to you because you follow the teaching profession, and my understanding is that, at least it's my view, that I think almost every kid growing up, we're exposed to one profession more than all other professions, and that is the teaching profession. Mainly because as we grow up, we have a teacher in front of us. And obviously that has got an impact on whether one would want to follow teaching career or not. And I mean, teaching career now is being highly attacked. We see a lot of incidents at school, people being killed, teachers attacked, and a lot of things that are happening. Now, I want to find out from you, and obviously there are many people watching who might want to follow the career or think about it, or consider it. Why did you decide that teaching is the career that you want to follow? What led you to take this path?
Yeah, so there's two answers to that. The first answer is that initially, when I wanted to register for university, I had not done that before. Because the focus was just on finishing school, finishing high school. I didn't even know that registering or applying for universities is something you do in advance. I suppose in a sense I did know, because I did have access to application forms. I had opportunities to do that. I had siblings that had gone through varsity, but it's just something that I never pushed myself towards, and there was really no one else to push me to do it. And mainly because there was an alternative, which was late registrations, right? I think some of you may have seen footage over the years of what a mess late registrations were. And I believe a lot of high institutions have taken action in solving that in recent years. But yeah, it was the norm back when I was going to school, when I matriculated. And so there I am in the big city of Pretoria, at the University of Pretoria. And my two brothers had gone to that school, and I really wanted to get in there. I tried, wanting to register. At first, I was not interested in education at all. I was interested in anything in the arts, anything in BA, anything in media, journalism, or even acting, right? But there was no space available, and they were pushing quite hard, us to register into education. So I thought, hey, if education is going to get me into UP, I'm going to choose that, and then the plan is to change for next year. And so, as the year went by, we were introduced to a module called educational psychology, and I thought, whoa, okay, this looks interesting. I liked it a lot. I liked my lecturers that taught it, and I thought, okay, the next year I'm probably going to choose this. I'm probably going to change my degree to that. And then it happened that year that my life was transformed. That's the year, particularly in the second part of the year, the last 6 months, was the time that I got saved. And, it was a big spiritual awakening for me. And I felt peace in my heart to stay in education. And I suppose we'll come to that. We'll come to why I decided to stay, or what was that spiritual reason that led me to staying. But yeah, so then I decided to stay of my own will. And so the reason I opened by saying there's two answers to that is that the first time I got into education was just to get a leg into UP. But the second time was me actually deciding that I'm going to become a teacher. And I recall at that time of the year when I made that decision, I think what really stood out for me was the impact that my English teachers had on me, particularly my grade 7 teacher, who really stands out. I'd say all of them, but, my grade 7 teacher was quite a big influence. And that was the reason I chose primary school in particular, because that's where my life changed, and that's where I wanted to bring change myself.
Okay. I think we'll get to that. The primary school, or the phase that you are teaching, Ed. But yeah, so I think maybe just to reverse a bit. You go to UP, you want to be in the arts, whether BA or whatever. As long as you are in the arts, you want to be in acting, performance, any of those fields. You don't get accepted due to space, and I mean, it's a common thing. I mean, most of the learners, they don't apply and they wait for last minute, and they end up not being admitted into the field they want to be. But I think on your side also, one can say it was in a way also got orchestrated, because not only did you later decide, due to your spiritual awakening, to follow teaching, I've also known you to be one of the passionate teachers. I mean, I've not seen such a passionate teacher. When I see you, I know there's a lot of passion. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because you want to speak to people who enjoy what they do. So maybe let's get into that. So you get there, you follow teaching, you want to be in art, and what was it that happened that led to that awakening, that led you to decide, I now want to follow a teaching as a career? Because I'm asking you this because I understand, spirituality is very strong attribute in one's life. And it does, when one becomes sensitized to the purpose of life, why they exist on earth, that they can start to link the two very easy. And career is one aspect that links to our spiritual consciousness, if I may put it that way. So what is it that happened? What was that, moment or incident that led you to take this?
Yeah. No, I'm actually glad you put it that way, particularly when you mentioned the connection between the choice and one's purpose in life, because yeah, in the present day, looking back at it now, everything was connected, certainly. In 20, and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but in 2015 was actually when I discovered what my purpose is on this earth, right? But yeah, to answer your question, going back to 2008, um, as I mentioned, that's when I got saved, and then I felt the peace of the Lord that I must stay in education, and I believe that the purpose of me staying was for me to be in training for that which I will eventually do, which I'm happy to share with you. I'm just not sure if I'm jumping the gun. Should I get into it
No, no,
now?
no. Please feel free. Feel free. Go
Okay.
on.
Yeah. No. So 2015, I basically discovered that I've been put on this earth to bring about an educational system. I think back in 2016, before I kind of 2015, before I kind of knew exactly, before I uncovered it completely, I thought maybe I was gonna build a curriculum, a school curriculum. Um, so I quit my job, and I wanted to do my honors in curriculum design, because I thought, this is what
Wow.
I have to do.
Wow.
But I have to be honest with you, I was not interested in research. I was not interested in honors or anything to do with honors. Fast forward to today, yeah, just to unpack what it was, is to come up with an educational system that's going to uplift the people of South Africa out of poverty, right? Um, and so that's what it is. And I'm proud to say that I actually have four institutions that exist. Some are in their infancy, and some are a lot more mature than others. But it's much clearer to me how I will come about with a educational system that will uplift the people of South Africa.
Wow. 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 No, that's very interesting, man, and I'm glad to hear that. And I'm very much intrigued by the spiritual journey that you took that actually led to this decision. And I want to take you back as well, that you get born again, and congratulations on that as well. And you decide that you want to follow teaching because you want to bring some form of transformation. Now, I want to take you now at that point. I mean, teaching has got different aspects. Usually, I mean, when we speak about careers, we make it as if it's just a matter of just choosing a career. I mean, if you want to be an engineer, you can still ask you, what kind of an engineer are you? You know, so are you a mechanical engineer, industrial engineer? What kind of engineer are you? Electrical engineer and all that. And teaching also is the same, that you might want to be a teacher. It boils down to which phase of teaching do you want to be. I want to be in primary school, middle school, high school, tertiary, and all that. But also, what subject do you want to teach? So at that point, when you were deciding, what were you measuring with? And was there any way where you had to decide, this is the path I need to follow, this is what I want to teach? I mean, I know myself, I'm not good with young kids, so I can teach young kids. Maybe I might want to teach Abed. So is there an option for that? How did you decide which phase or what level, maybe to break it down, what level did you want to teach? At what point did you decide, and what subject did you follow or measure with?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at the time of registration, I think I was registered for high school, right? So grade 8, 9, and 10, as far as I remember. And as soon as I had made the decision that, okay, I'm staying, this is my place of impact, I then decided to re-register as intermediate, which is grade 4 to 7, primary school. and what I majored in was English, because as I mentioned, I was quite good. I think I was the best in English in my class, among other things. Um, and um, and then the other one was technology, as well as um, remedial, as far as I remember. I even, oh no, it was computer application technology. And I have an interesting story to tell about that. Because so
Yeah.
as opposed to my classmates at the time, I had access to a computer before, but it was just more watching movies. And I want the people watching to understand that back in 2000, that was the first time I saw a computer or held a computer for a long period, was 2004. So because my brother had gone to university and he came back with a laptop, and as well I was watching movies, playing games on his laptop. The first time I attended the computer application technology class, yeah, I was a lot confident because I had been around computers before, and my classmates, we were doing a typing exercise, and I was just like getting the hang of it. My classmates were,
But you're not afraid of the mouse.
my classmates asked me if I have a computer
Yeah.
at home. No, and they couldn't believe it. But I suppose I, in a sense, did have it. But I hadn't typed before. Yes, they asked me if I had typed before, because they had been there for at least 2 weeks. I arrived late, and I was just getting the hang of typing, and they asked me that. But yeah, back to your question. My majors were English, as well as computer literacy, aka computer application technology. So those were my two major my two majors, and the reason I had chose them, the English, was because yeah, I loved it and I was good at it. And then the computer application technology was because I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to better myself in learning computers. I recognize that it's a tool. It's a tool of the future. Yeah, I was having a Steve Jobs moment.
No, no, I'm sure you are happy you took that route now when you think
Oh,
about
absolutely.
COVID and SFN. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's great, man. And tell me now, for somebody watching and want to follow education route, what does your learning process entail? When you go to class, do you practice being a teacher? Do they give you a chalk? Go then to the front to teach other people? What do you actually do as a student teacher?
Yeah. So you're asking that, a graduate that would have studied for at least 4 years.
No. Just for somebody watching at home, want to follow teaching, want to know from first year, second year until you complete, how long, what does it entail? When you go to class, what do you actually do? I'll give a practical example. Does it mean if I'm a science teacher, I go to class, when it's time to go to the lab, I practice the experiment that I'm going to be doing with learners in class? Or what do you do? Do you go beyond that? What do you do? Like I remember when we were at school, maths teacher would become this classroom mathematics book. If I'm a maths teacher, do I go to class and do everything that's in that book because that's what I'm going to be doing with my learners? What do you actually do? And how long is the duration of the study of the course?
Yes. Yeah. So any institution that you register education with will have a 4-year degree or qualification that's mandatory across the country. So that's how long it takes. But in first year, typically you learn the subjects as you would have learned them in school, in matric, for example. But in your first year, there's also other subjects, which are also called modules. There are modules that you learn that bring about that transformation, that bridge between matric and university. Things such as study methods, things such as computer literacy for those who don't have it. There's other than the subjects that you're majoring in. So I was an English major, for example. Other than English that I was learning, there were other modules that I mentioned, such as computer literacy and other literacies that kind of build you up for the university life. And then second year is where you get exposed to teaching methodologies. I believe in the beginning of your second year, back when I did it, back when I studied education, you'd be tasked to go and do observations in a classroom, right? So this is the beginning of your second year. So you sit and you watch actual teachers teach, and you kind of put reports together that you send back to school, and then the year starts from there. And you continue learning your majors. And I'll come back to that. I'll use the English and computer application technology example. But I just want to speak on the methodologies. The methodologies basically expose you to how to teach. How do you teach? It speaks to classroom management, classroom discipline, etc. And there's also I think this is where you get exposed to the different philosophies, different approaches to teaching, different teaching methodologies, etc. Because there's enough human history that's been built up that's available to teach someone else how to teach, how to approach subject matters. But yeah, coming back to the majors that you choose, if you choose science or maths or English, for the first, second, and third year, you continue learning. I believe mathematics will then learn calculus up to university level, etc. But let me speak to English. So in English, you'd learn your literature, you'd learn. So this would be prose, this would be poems. You'd read books that you'd have to write essays about. You'd read poems that you'd have to analyze and write essays about, and then you'd learn grammar. I think we did grammar probably in first and second year, as far as I remember. And so these are the things that you will eventually teach in class, and therefore you continue learning them just at a higher level, right? And so yeah, the same is true with computer application technology. You have to be competent at Word. You have to be competent at Excel. You have to be competent at PowerPoint, because then you'll be able to teach the intricacies of those subject matters. And so the same would be true for other subjects such as science and maths and the ones accounting, etc.
Superman. It sounds very, very exciting. And tell me now, let's say, for example, you measure in English, computer science, and I think you mentioned something about remedial as well. So when you complete, what are the job prospects? What are the opportunities that exist for you? I'm thinking, does it mean you need to look for posts that are for computer science or English, or can you teach anything? Usually we speak about delegation. Can you go to a school, they say, no, you do biology, you are a teacher, you can teach anything. We'll give you a book, you'll have to read it. Or are you confined to a particular subject that you measured with?
Yeah, so the answer is, the short answer is you're confined to what that which you studied. However, at a primary school, there's a lot more freedom to move you around to teaching subjects that you didn't major in. It becomes a lot less flexible in high school. I think high school is where you're much more confined to teaching the subject that you study. So in my personal experience, I actually taught English for a total of probably 18 months in total, and as we speak, I have been teaching for 10 years. I celebrate my 10 year.
Wow.
My 10 years of teaching. Yeah. So I studied English and only got to teach it for about a total of 18 months, right? Because the other times I taught natural sciences, loved it, was good at it. I taught social sciences. I enjoyed it.
Wow.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Um, but I spent most of my career teaching computer literacy, actually.
Is it? Wow, wow. So basically, unless if you are at a primary level, you have more
Mm.
flexibility to get into other. So what is the process? Do you then have to just get the textbook and master what you have to do because you have the principle, you have the methodologies and apply them? Or
Yeah.
is there any form of additional formal education that you need to do that?
Ideally, and on paper there is, but in practice there isn't. You grab the textbook and you consume it, and you have to teach it the next day. That's how it is. Yeah.
And are you mentioned that you are more on you specialize in an intermediate level. So does
Yes,
it
sir.
mean when you complete and you have chosen a phase,
Yeah.
maybe to break it down, the school is divided into I think three parts, right? The foundation, intermediate, and the high school level. If you
Yeah.
specialize in one phase, does it mean you are confined to that phase? Can you decide tomorrow, I want to focus on high school, or I want to focus on primary foundational phase?
Mm. Yeah. So this is just one of those things that it is possible. It's not common. So if there is someone that wants to consider it, it can be done. So the answer is yes, but it's not common. However, so in a primary school you get if yeah, you get two phases, right? So it's actually three, right? Just to correct what you said earlier. There's preschool, which I don't think is well, it is a phase, but some primary schools don't have a preschool. And then there's foundation phase, and there's intermediate, and there's senior phase, which is actually grade 7 to 9. I think the Americans would call it middle school, and then grade 10 to 12
Yes.
uh, is a phase of its own. Yeah. So to answer your question, it's very rare, but it is doable. For example, I teach at a primary school with an intermediate phase selection, but my computer application technology is actually a high school grade 10 to 12 subject. So I can actually go and teach in a high school because I carry the qualification to do that particular job, to teach that particular subject. Does that answer your question, sir?
No, it does. It does. And obviously, I've got a follow up. Now,
Yeah.
tell me, I see on Facebook you get like this unemployed teachers group and all this and all that. What are the
Mhm.
job prospects? If I do teaching, is it a field that has got high opportunities to be employed? Are the teachers who are not getting jobs? What's the prospect if I do teaching? Is it something that you will recommend for somebody to follow? They're interested. What do you say about that?
Yeah. There's very high prospects for teachers. In fact, in my experience, it's one of the easiest fields to get work in, particularly when you're still young. I think to speak to what you mentioned about the groups, the Facebook groups with unemployed teachers, those will happen with people that would take a break from teaching or relocate, um, or there's other factors that um, cause people to get out and then want to look for work. So just like any other field, there will always be someone looking for a job, and there will always be a position open. You know what I mean? I think it's similar to other fields, except in education, the prospects are much higher in comparison to other fields. So just to speak to that, and to answer your question, the prospects are quite high. I think there was a second part of the question that I'm missing here. Please help me out.
No, it was mainly that. I think they were actually linked But I think then, because I think what confused me is that on one side, you have got this Facebook pages where people are looking for jobs, but on the other side, almost every school, they're advertising positions. So I'm wondering, these people, where are they living? Because other schools are advertising, or is it a matter of they want specific experts on particular subjects, people don't have them, or is there particular level of education that is needed? People maybe have diplomas. So I'm wondering, what is the issue? Like, are schools very strict that they want a bachelor's degree? Can somebody with just a diploma in education or certificate, or is it a qualification issue? What is the issue that you will find these people in groups that are looking for jobs when jobs are all over?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, with some schools it's just a standard thing. You know, they want to maintain a certain standard, and it could happen that, you know, just about everyone in that Facebook group does not meet their standard. That would be my, you know, first speculative answer to that question. But also I speak with yeah, from experience. I speak from experience that, you know, I've seen that schools are very specific in the kind of teacher they want, because they're accountable to parents. They're accountable to maintaining a certain image, a certain standard. They're accountable, and all those factors, right? So if it's a private school, then they want to get they want to increase their numbers, and so they want to keep that standard. But if it's a public school, then they're accountable to the Department of Education, or the local regional offices that oversee them. Also expect, you know, a certain level of standard in behavior and performance of the students. So the hiring of teachers also has an impact on that.
No, I get you, and maybe for clarity on that, what would you say it's a good standard of a teacher who is employable, to put it right? Yeah, employable, because maybe you can be a teacher but you are not employable. What standard or what qualities will you say make an employable teacher? You look like a very happy teacher. So I'm wondering, if somebody wants to enjoy themselves and not struggle for a job, what are the qualities that you say? And maybe, I mean, every time I think of teaching, I'm an ed psych, so I'm exposed to schools and varsities. I always think I will go to a private school, but what are the qualities that you think are good for a teacher to get a job? If a teacher is watching now, they're not employed, what do you say would be the advice for them if they want to get employed? What would be the best way to take, you know, to increase their chance of employability?
Yeah. So I'd say, you know, firstly, I think being in a position where, you know, recently I've had to hire people myself. I'd say it starts with your CV. You know, in fact, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, that I already have existing training institutions. One of the things that we teach is a course called Digital Tools, right? So it starts with your CV. How do you present yourself? Is your CV typed on a Word document? It doesn't have a picture of you. It doesn't even have a bio. It's just like a business card, you know, a black and white business card. So it starts, how do you sell yourself to begin with? I think that would be the one thing that schools and school principals look at. And then the other thing is other things that you don't really have control over, which is your experience, right? So the kind of experience, does it match the job that you're applying for?
But no, good, man. Thanks for that. So now moving forward on that, I wanted to also get clarity. If a person does teaching, and I mean, you have been a teacher for 10 years now, does it mean, and maybe it could be an obvious question, there could be an obvious answer. if I do teaching, Bachelor of Education, if teaching in a classroom the only career option I have, or are there other career options?
Yeah. So the answer is no. In fact, we can actually go back to the fourth year, the final year of that degree. So that's the year where you decide what you're going to do the next year. Are you going to go looking for work, or do you want to branch out into something else? You're going to do an honors in a particular field. It could be management, it could be curriculum design. It could be teaching with ICT, which all those honors actually open other doors that are not teaching, right? So once you have those, you can also go into academia. So let me list the possible career paths in education that come to mind. So yeah, when you're at your fourth year, you're going to decide, okay, I want to do my honors, masters, and then go into academia, and teach at a high institution.
That's when then you lecture now at university.
Yes, sir.
At college. Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. You can decide to do that. Then there's educational psychology, which you can do.
Oh, yes.
You can work hard at, do your masters, your honors, and then get selected into masters. There's several high institutions in South Africa that offer that. I stand corrected though. Am I?
You are right.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Yeah. So I mean, if one institution doesn't take you, you try UNISA, you try there. So yeah, educational psychology, which is something I was interested in, is a path that you can take. If you went the ICT route, then you can work for the Department of Education to be a policymaker, or to be part of the team that does training. And there's a lot. There's part of the team that follows up with implementation. There's a lot to be done. And then you can also choose, there's the sports management within education, that comes with the education degree. So then you can go into coaching or sports management, which is a position that you find schools that advertise for. So there are those options that are available. Yeah. I feel like I didn't give enough. So
no, it's a lot. I think I'm looking at you because I'm starting to think about a lot of things. I mean, one can also start their own school. I mean, there's a huge gap in terms of education institutions around the country. One can open a center, educational center for tutorials. You can be, additional class support and all that. There's a lot that one can do. When I pulled that question, I think I had not reflected on the different career path, but as you spoke, I started to think about the different path that one can take. But it's a lot. Thank you for that. Now, let's say somebody that's teaching. You've been in teaching for 10 years. Financial wise, what can somebody expect if they complete today? Tomorrow they're going. What can they expect to earn? Somebody sitting there, they are thinking, is this a lucrative career?
Yeah. Can I just mention that some are sitting in Matatiela?
Matatiela, yes.
There's some in the Western.
I'm from Limpopo, so I'm so biased. I always mention Limpopo.
there's people sitting in Siavusa.
Anywhere in the world, so all the 9 provinces, they all come.
Yeah. No. So the starting salary based on NAPTOSA, which is they represent teachers. What are they again?
Teachers Union.
They were teachers union. Yeah. It's more than 15,000 that you get as your starter salary. And then obviously, if it's a private school, they always pay a bit more. You're able to negotiate a bit more. However, you don't have much leverage as a starting teacher. But yeah, so that would be the starting amount, and then there's increases every year. That national increases for teachers. I think that's something you can easily research and get to learn what you'll be earning the next year and what you're going to be earning 10 years down the line, etc. But to answer your question, it's 15, it's a bit more than 15,000 rands.
Okay, that's good. And so that's one, when you complete your 4 years, do you do like a internship? Is that what you get at your internship? Do you do internship, and how long is that?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because when I spoke about first year, second year, I neglected to speak about fourth year. So your fourth year is actually when I think the first 3 months you're just on campus preparing to go into your teaching practice. So your fourth year is your teaching practice year. You're going to spend 6 months at a school teaching, doing full-time teaching. You are not compensated for that, regrettably. However, when I was in school, I was fortunate enough that CETA gave us a stipend because we were part of a research group. We gave them data on our teaching practice activity. But yeah, so the fourth year is a full 6 months of teaching, which is split into two, 3 months at one school and 3 months at another school. There are those that do just the 6 months at one school. I did 2 different schools. One was a private school, one was a government school, former Model C. And yeah, it was quite interesting to see the differences between how things are done in both schools. And so yeah, that's your year. As soon as you finish with that, then you start applying. And so in my experience, both schools actually liked me. But I moved on to the second school, and I liked them. So that's actually where I felt the peace. I think it comes back.
It happens.
Yeah.
So where the things you like, they don't like you, or what you like doesn't like you.
No, sir. The previous school liked me.
Yeah.
But then the second school also liked me, but I also liked them back.
Yeah, but you didn't like the other one more.
Yeah. And so yeah. Again, it's also a place, coming back to spirituality. So it's a place where I felt the peace to stay, and so that's where I stayed. And I eventually did get offered the job. It is a bit of a testimony on how it happened.
Wow.
But after my 4th year of teaching Prague, by January, I was signing the contract and starting, when schools open.
Wow. So have you been in a position where you are looking for a job, where you have no job?
Look, my story is unique. In fact,
Okay.
I probably have been interviewed for a job when I was a student once, and then I was interviewed when I had left teaching for 12 months. It wasn't even an interview to get in. I had already gotten in. I was applying to become a tutor at a well-known institution, and but technically I've never been to a job interview. I've had 3 jobs.
Wow.
I've just walked into the jobs. What one would have considered an interview was just me being called in to have a discussion, and then after that they say, "We like you, we're gonna take you." But it wasn't even a formal interview. Where I work now, I actually didn't even send in a CV. They asked me for my CV after they had hired me. They say, "Hey, we noticed we don't have your CV."
So what happened? I'm trying to make sense of how it happened. Do they call you or recruit you, or the people and it's a network and they say, "You know what, we have got a post, please come and have an interview"? And how does it happen? Is it a recruitment, headhunting?
Yeah. Well, I think let me speak to a general mode of operation. Okay, so if it's a public school, they will have a choice as to where they advertise. They'll do it on Facebook. They'll, inform parents. They'll inform the community. Um, they'll also inform unions. Unions have their websites where they advertise. I think it helps the unions as well with memberships. Um, and then if it's a private school, some private schools have their own system of doing it. I'm thinking of uh, yeah, there's a big group of private schools in South Africa that have their own system of advertising.
Yes.
Yeah, and so one would then send in a CV. Some institutions prefer it if you do it in person. Again, it depends on what school, who owns it. But yeah, sending in a CV in person or online. And and the staff, the senior management of the school will go through the CVs. I know where I work, all CVs are looked at, whether it's 100 or 200, and then candidates are chosen for, an invitation for interviews. And then you you go through the interview process, and when you get the job, you'll be informed.
Okay, super then. And maybe in conclusion, I mean, I know you to be more in private schools, but I just want to get maybe your thoughts on this. What are the pros and cons of either being a teacher at a private school or public school? Because I mean, I gave you an example previously that teachers are attacked a lot, particularly at public schools.
Yeah.
I've actually not done a thorough comparison whether it happens less or more at public or private, but the essence is that there's a lot of issues in public school compared to private. So I wanted to ask you, in terms of environment-wise, working environment, what are the pros and cons of either or? And yeah, maybe just to share to somebody who might be considering teaching, but might also be concerned about some of the things they see within their community.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thanks for asking that. So, anyone who's considering wanting to go into teaching, so this would be young people, it could be people that are already enrolled. What they need to know is that they have a choice as to what school they get to teach at. And I think it starts, or I know and believe for sure, that it starts in university. Some might argue that it starts in high school as well. But the building of your CV, a lot of people think of a CV as just a piece of paper that you kind of use to say who you are. Your CV is not your ID card. Your CV is your brand. Your CV is how you get to sell yourself. And that's what employers, and in your case, the people watching that are in teaching or considering it, that those are your employers, right? And so you need to sell yourself. You need to start in high school, be involved in things, join the choir. If you're an active person, become part of the sports team, make it to captainship, or have an important role. Don't just be a member. If you're part of the choir, you have some responsibility. You need to start building up, leadership positions. You need to show that you stand out. You need to show that you're a hard worker. And these are the kind of things that employers look at. To this day, I still put that I was a prefect in primary school. I was part of the SRC in high school. I still put that because it's a track record that I have maintained and built up that can speak for me. And so, yeah, to those people, my advice would be build yourself up. Your CV is not just a paper. It's a form of marketing yourself, a form of selling yourself. And then the second thing I want to add to that is that you get to choose what school you go to. You get to choose that there are better schools than what you have been exposed to. And for, I think, almost half of my teaching career, I was always asked, hey, why didn't you go back and teach where you came from? And I think for the bigger part of those years, I didn't have a proper answer. But if I had to answer honestly, it would be for those reasons that you mentioned. The kind of environment um, that that produces the students is something that I was not ready um, to be exposed to, or to expose myself to. But um, um, you're gonna cut out the R's. But what I want to say,
Yeah.
no. What I want to say is, um, so over the years, as I've grown and matured and kind of, got to understand things and understood myself and understood my career, I got to realize, and this is for me in particular, it's that I am here. I am a sponge. I absorb so much. I am here in the city, learning so much that I will eventually take back to the people. Because as I mentioned, that's what my purpose is. That's what I'm here to do. Uh, and so, yeah. Now, jumping back to your question, what's the difference between
Yes.
public schools? What options do you have? So yeah, my experience is with former Model C schools as well as private schools. However, I do have friends that teach in in public schools. I think what one would refer to as the rough schools. Yeah, I think to start off, I'll say that there are just like some people prefer high school over primary school. There are those that really have a heart to go to those kind of schools that we would consider rough schools. And so, if you're choosing that, you got to go in with a plan. You got to speak to people that are experienced. You got to know what you're doing. You got to have a support system and a coping mechanism because you feel that you're called for that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Uh, but yeah, if you're wanting to go, to schools that are public schools, but they're a lot calmer, what people would refer to as former Model C schools. Um, Discipline, you still get discipline issues now and then, but it's manageable things. And then if you go to a private school, uh, it's a whole lot better, just because of the socioeconomic background of the kids. So that does make a difference. But yeah, let's speak to the teacher experience, right? I think I kind of spoke to the teacher experience of a high school that would be, situated in a lower economic area. But yeah, so now let's compare, the experience of a teacher in from Model C as well as a private school. So in a private school, there's a lot of accountability to parents. I think before I joined private schools, I heard stories. I heard stories of the kind of experiences you will get. They're not all true. I think each case is different. I think things can be, exaggerated. But the one thing that I can highlight in a private school is, although it is changing, um, and again, I don't want to generalize to all schools. There's less admin, but you certainly do get a lot more resources, a lot more support. This would be a private school. In a former Model C school, former Model C as well as public, lots of admin. So what you will need to prepare yourself for is lots of admin. There's lots of expectation, paperwork, files, and here's something
Can you give an example?
Yes. So, okay, you have to submit lesson plans. They have to be up to date. Then there's certain documents that you have to that have to be sent to the Department of Education. There's different reportings. And then when there's tests written, there's certain data that needs to be collected. So there's almost reporting, and then there's reports themselves that you send out to parents. So there's a lot of reporting, there's a lot of accountability, which does make sense. However, I think there is no one person that sees it from the teacher's perspective. there's just so much. There's so much accountability. And so you get buried in lots of paperwork.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to get to when you mentioned the difference between public and private. You mentioned that in the public there's too much administrative work, but less in private. How so? In which way? I wanted to wrap my mind around it.
Yeah. Look, the system of reporting it's a lot different. So depending on who owns the private school, your last the last person would be the principal, right? So other than your HODs, which is your head of department, other than those people, the last stop would be the principal. The last word would come from the principal. But like I mentioned, so this would be a private school, right? But with public schools, as I mentioned, the principal herself or himself is accountable to the regional Department of Education, and then there's the district, and there's different hierarchies, yeah, and all of them have expectations, and sometimes the expectations are not aligned, and so that causes sometimes double work, double admin for teachers. But I quickly wanted to slip this in, that one of the things that I wish I knew, which I know very well now as a mature teacher, is that just get your admin on point. There's certain, particularly for primary school teachers, there's a point, especially when you're starting out, there's a point where teaching doesn't even matter. It's your file that matters. It's your submission that matters. It's your reports that matter. You know what I mean? But also I've also come to learn that the whole admin aspect of things applies into all industries. Be it law or medicine or construction. Like everybody needs to have their paperwork on point. And so that would be the biggest advice I want to give to teachers that are starting out. Prioritize your admin. Your admin is your weakness, like it was mine. I'm a brilliant teacher. Okay, I'll stand in front of the kids. I'll teach a great lesson. But admin, not my strong point. Do I like it? No. So in hindsight, I could have worked harder at my admin. And prioritize your admin. Yeah. If it's your weakness, if it's your weakness, you gotta do something about it.
Okay, no, I get you, and then I get the difference that we are putting there in terms of the admin aspect, in terms of the environment as well. Now, in conclusion, there might be people watching want to follow teaching from, I'll say 9 provinces now, in all the 9 provinces of South Africa. What would you say are the tick boxes that maybe they need to check before they start following a career in teaching? And what are some of the words of encouragement that you might want to give to them?
Well, I want to say that it takes a very special person to want to go into teaching. So I think, already having the interest to want to get into that is a special thing. Well, look, you got to have the passion for it, right? So if you want to do it, you got to be in on it. You can't be deterred. So that's the one box you need to check, is that I will not be deterred by anything. This is what I want to do. You got to have a a bigger picture. The teaching industry is it's an impactful career path. So you got to be someone that really wants to do that. You want to leave a mark. And then the third thing is you got to be a person of you got to be good at it. You got to know that you're good at it. You've got some experience doing it, and then you have to love the subject matter that you want to go into. It It can't be because you want to get a salary out of it. So those are some of the boxes that you want to check. And I think that last part that I mentioned, wanting to do it for a salary, it's not the most viable reason. So one, needs to ask oneself, what are my intentions? Okay, so you need to tick those boxes yourself. What are my intentions? Am I really good at it? Do I love the subject matter? Do I love kids? That's one of the biggest boxes that you need to check. Do I love kids? Do I love people in general? So those are some of the things. And then you gotta be a person of structure, as I said. I think how my person of my trait, my structural trait manifested itself was in discipline. One of the things I learned was, one has to, there has to be like a predictable path. You need to lay out expectation. You need to you need to plan. You need to plan. You need to have expectations. What do you want? What do you expect from your students, etc. So you gotta be a person of structure. You gotta be a person that thinks ahead, plans ahead. As I said, I think that aspect of my planning kind of manifested itself in the area of discipline. In my career, I never struggled with discipline, except when I was starting out and figuring things out. After that, and it took a short period, for me to figure it out. Look, I have had my low years, but I consider myself to have never struggled with discipline. But words of encouragement, I want to say, anybody that wants to study teaching, it takes a special person. I think teachers are some of the most unique people, the most giving people, some of the most, the people that have exercised their patience. So yeah, if you want to get into it, I encourage you to continue. I think it's a good field. There is a sense of fulfillment, and I wish anyone the best that wants to go into that field.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ali Mkhwanazi, and I agree with you. I think teaching takes a very special people to do it, and I think you are one of them. So thank you so much. Before I close, any last words or any thoughts or anything that you want to share before I close the interview?
Yes, sir. So there's a concept which one of my mentors phrases, or he phrases it as a talent stack, right? I think some people will call it a skill set, but he calls it a talent stack. What I want to encourage anyone that's considering wanting to go into teaching is to consider what else they're good at and build themselves up in that area. For example, I'm good with computers. And one of the areas that I've developed myself is just learning digital tools. I can do a lot. I can do a lot more than I'm qualified for. And so over the years, I've been able to build my talent stack. I've learned how to play a musical instrument, more than one, in fact. And so I have these other talents, useful talents, right? That if I ever decide, okay, I want to start my own school, then, I'm bringing these talents with me that can be an offering. Or if I want to venture into full-time music, I can go into that. If I want to venture into marketing, to go and use my digital skills, I can go into that. I think there are certain people that get to a stage where they say, I think I've made my impact and I want to change career paths. And those people, you don't know that you'll want to get to that stage. And so as a person, just in general, you need to build up your talent stack so that you're competent in many areas, and they can be useful to you at any time that you want to use them. So that would be my advice, is build yourself up, be good at more than one thing. You never know where the journey might want to take you.
Thank you so much, sir, and super. Building your talent stack. And then actually, when you are saying, remembering one teacher of mine, I think he was a physics teacher. I just discovered now he's a professor at TUT.
Mm. Wow.
So, and yeah, and
Yeah.
it basically boils down to what we're talking about. Sometimes, I mean,
Yes.
a teaching career can just imagine. I mean, it's a lot of work. So at times you might come to a point where you feel like, you know what, I'm exhausted, or I've made my impact, or for whatever reason, I want to branch into another field, you know. So and you're right. I think what you shared is very important. And that's the whole purpose of this show. It's about alternative career paths. So you need to be able to know where can I branch and how can I branch out of my current career. And I think one of the key things is to have your talent stack, as you said it. So thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate all the inputs and the ideas and everything that you have shared. I believe those who are watching from any part of South Africa, all the 9 provinces. I'm not calling any township now. All the 9 provinces. I believe that I've learned a lot from Mr. Alim Kwanazi, a very passionate English, computer science, computer technology teacher as well. Thank you so much. Life science. You said, what else are you teaching?
Social science.
Natural science as well.
Yeah.
Social science. I even forgot all the subjects. Me, I'm an old school student. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful day.
You too, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.